It's time now for the Law and You, brought to you by Gig and Jankula. Chris Jankula is joining us today. How you doing, Chris?
Very good. Thanks again for having me.
Absolutely, of course. Okay, so viewers, of course, submit questions on it to the show for you guys to answer. But first, before we get to that, what kind of law do you guys practice?
Well, we do a lot of stuff. I do personal injury, workers' compensation, Social Security, disability. My business partner, Mike, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, he does a lot of real estate, wills, trusts, estates. So we do a lot.
Yes, absolutely, a lot that you guys have to cover. But we're going to, of course, tackle a question today that is around your area of expertise. So let's get right to it. If a worker is off from work for an extended period of time due to having surgery and has not been cleared by the surgeon to return to work, is that employer legally allowed to terminate them? And if so, if they do terminate them, is the worker eligible for employment, Chris?
All right. Well, okay, so first of all, I'm just assuming that they aren't getting workers' compensation. So we'll just do that as a regular, you have to have surgery, it's not work-related type of question. So first of all, in Pennsylvania, 99% of people are at-will employees, meaning that there's no contract, there's no real protections and stuff like that. If my boss, well, I'm my own boss, but let's say your boss walks in and says, you know what, we don't want you anymore. They don't have to give a reason or anything, just goodbye. All right? Or if you say, hey, I got a gig up in New York City, I'm going to be the anchor up there, you can just say goodbye to them. As long as you don't have a contract, you're at-will employee.
I wish that were true for me, Chris. We do have contracts.
Well, all right. Well, there you go.
But I just had an example.
Most people don't.
But yeah.
Okay, so your job then, you have to look at the policies and procedures manual, see how much you're protected. And also, if the company is big enough, then you're protected by the FMLA law, all right, Family Medical Leave Act, and you have to fill out specific forms for that. Talk to your HR department, talk to your boss if you don't have that. Make sure you fill out the forms, give them to your doctors, because there are protections under the law to protect your job. They might not pay you, but at least that will protect your job. Also, sometimes with companies, they do have, you can be off X amount of days, but then your job is not protected. So let's say your job's not protected, you're an at-will employee, and then you need to, you can't go back to work because the surgeon says you aren't cleared. Well, if they let you go, unfortunately, for unemployment compensation, you have to be ready, willing, and able to work. And you have to actually, every week, I believe, go into and put that you've applied for different jobs, you've looked for different jobs. So I doubt, since the surgeon hasn't approved them to go back to work, that they'd be ready, willing, and able to work, unless, let's say that they have a heavy-duty job, all right, and they can't go back to that heavy-duty job that they have to lift 75 pounds or more, but they could be a sedentary job. Then they might be able to apply for unemployment comp, but you'd have to talk to the surgeon, make sure that you'd be able to do that type of stuff. And you know, it's going to be much more difficult for them to get benefits.
Mm-hmm. In regards to the unemployment, I guess kind of going along the different types of jobs, say they are going from a physical job where you're on your feet all day, they're applying for desk jobs maybe that, you know, they qualify for. They're not getting anywhere yet, but they're applying for these jobs. Does that fall under the unemployment umbrella?
Yeah, you mean like, let's say that they have a heavy-duty job that they have to lift more than 75 pounds or more, but now they're like, oh, I can't do that job. I'm applying for sedentary jobs, office jobs, things along those lines. Yeah, that could help them out, but again, you got to make sure, because usually with surgeries and stuff like that, there's a fixed amount of time depending upon how much that they can do nothing, all right, that the surgeon wants them to do nothing.
Yeah.
All right. So lots of different questions with this question type of deal, but it's an interesting one.
For sure, yeah. And then you mentioned, okay, this is for just, you need surgery, it's not work related.
Yeah.
Workers' compensation, though, totally changes
workers'
things.
compensation is a different entity.
Yes.
And if you were on workers' compensation, there's more protections for your jobs and things, and also there's payment if it's work-related while you are off of work, and they have to continue paying you until your doctor says you can go back to work.
Okay.
So it's a completely different situation.
Totally different thing, but you guys handle pretty much everything. So if you or people need your help, how can they reach out to you guys?
Yes, please give us a call at 814-946-1606 or go to gig-law.com.
Hey, sorry.
That's all right.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.